Well, there have been protests all over our country and all over Milwaukee. Racism is now a regular topic of conversation. Our next guest says instead of digging deeper into our problems, we should be looking at solutions, which is exactly what he's doing.
James Causey is a reporter with the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. He is also an on-air host and lifelong Milwaukee resident. He just launched a year-long project to reclaim Milwaukee's true promise. James joins us now. Hi, James.
Morning,
how
James.
you doing?
We're doing great. It's so wonderful to have you joining us. First of all, explain, if you would, what you see as being Milwaukee's promise.
Well, Milwaukee's Promise is pretty much what my parents had when they came to this city from Mississippi. It was basically, if you could find work, a livable wage job where you could earn enough to purchase a home if you wanted to, purchase a car, and raise a family, send your children to college, and live the American dream. And honestly, we have not had that in this city in quite some time. So that's the American dream. That's the Milwaukee Promise. You know, it was a lot of work here. It was a lot of opportunity here, but that opportunity is diminished over the years.
Well, talk about what this series is, because Milwaukee's Promise is going to be an entire series that you're beginning.
Right. So it launched a couple of Sundays ago, and it's a year-long project. I'm a 2019-2020 Marquette University O'Brien Fellow, and over that time, it's given me the opportunity to look for the best practices in other cities and right here in our own city, and basically to see what works in housing, what works to solve the eviction crisis that we have, what works with community policing, what works in education. And so what I wanted to do was find those best practices and see if I could write about them and get some energy here to try to copy those ideas or incorporate them in some kind of way that we could change the tide that we see here today.
I'm curious, James, if you were already planning this quite a long time ago, or did recent events such as the death of George Floyd inspire you to do this series?
I like to say that it was the perfect storm. I mean, this was planned before the terrible incident with George Floyd. However, this is the perfect time for a project like this because, you know, we know what the problems are. We talk about the problems ad nauseum in this city. We understand the unemployment crisis. We understand the lack of opportunity, and we understand a lot of the problems we have in education. But we don't really spend a lot of time talking about real solutions that we could get going, that we need to stick with. The problem is we come up with ideas and we don't really give them time to formulate and really time to take traction before we go on to something else. So my plan in what this Milwaukee Promise is the attempt is to get us to stick with something and see it to the end so we can make life better for everyone.
I think that would be an excellent mission and very much needed. You know, you kind of mentioned earlier with your parents, and I know your first article focuses on Milwaukee in the 70s, like you said, is one of the very best places for Black families to live in America. So when you say it doesn't fulfill that promise anymore, what do you think is the first thing that needs to happen to return our city to that original promise?
Well, it starts with job opportunity. Like I said, my father was a welder. My mother worked on the assembly line at Cost Cooperation, and they worked hard. I mean, they worked hard enough to purchase their first home on 39th and Capitol, a home I live in today. My parents have since passed away, but they wanted me to have those same opportunities to work hard and be able to afford my own home and be able to live the American dream. But it all starts with job opportunities, livable wage job opportunities. Secondly, it comes with a matter of respect. And I think that's what we see in a number of these protests. People are marching because they want to be treated as equal. And for too long, if you didn't have the degree behind your name, if you were a person of color, if you were someone who lived in a zip code, a different kind of zip code, you were not treated as equal. You were treated as like a problem. And this is an opportunity, and we have to take advantage of this to really change that. I mean, I don't know if we will get another opportunity in my lifetime to change that. So that's why I've really been behind these protests because people need to be heard.
It's so sad to read in your article that in the 70s, Milwaukee was one of the very best places in all of the country, in America, for Black families to live. And now it's one of, if not the worst place in America for Black families to live. That's why I think your vision board is so interesting. And I wonder, what are you asking people to do? You want the picture for our city, our community to change in the next year. You're sort of capitalizing on this opportunity where people seem ready for change. So how does the vision board work?
Well, a lot of things changed in this city because we lost most of our manufacturing base. A lot of the big companies moved overseas or moved their companies south where they didn't have unions. But what I want to do with this vision board, like you don't know what you want to be unless you have a vision for it. Like I always wonder what our leader's vision for the city is. So a vision board is basically plan out what the future should look like a year from now. What do you want the city to look like? You know, do you want to focus on healthy children and families? Do you want to focus on great education, job opportunities, better police relationship? Show that on a vision board of what it looks like, because until you have that vision, you really you don't know what next step to take. So I'm challenging the city, and everyone can participate, young and old, Black and white, you name it, to create what your vision of the city should look like on a vision board. And you could do it electronically, digitally, or you could do it like the old-fashioned way by cutting out magazines and words and putting them on a piece of paper or a large sheet of paper and focusing on what you want this city to look like a year from now. And the best part about this is I'm going to encourage city leaders to take a look at these vision boards and see if their vision is in line with what the citizens have to say. It's a way to speak out and it's a way to be engaged. So that's very important to me.
You're incredible, James. We love it so much. And I love the fact that you're forward thinking. And, you say the problems are well known. It's now time to create solutions. And I think you're doing just that. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Yeah, we look forward to having you join us again so we can learn more and also be part of this. So thank you so much. And to read James' initial piece kicking off Milwaukee's Promise, we've included the link on our website, so you can go to themorningblend.com. But if you have an idea for Milwaukee's vision board, James is inviting you to email him directly. The email address is jcausey@jrn.com.